All right. We should be live. Yes. Yes. Yes, we are. We are definitely live. Awesome. Cool. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to the next installment in our tier list saga. If you were here, not last time, well, last time, but last time we did Disney movies. But it was a large cluster of movies from different generations. So now, what I told you we were going to do, and what we're starting today, is we're going to do a tier list throughout a timeline, throughout the generations of Disney animated films. Starting off with today's list, which is going to be from 1937 to 1970. These are the classics. I mean, you could argue a lot of the other movies from the 80s and 90s and stuff are classics as well, and I would agree with you, but these are the very, very classic Disney movies. The next tier list that you can expect, and I want to say, because this is very impromptu, a lot of our lives lately that, Pete have been doing, Craig have been doing, that I've been doing, have been very impromptu. We just kind of been going out with them. But I can probably bet pretty safely that Thursday nights around this time is probably when we're going to be doing our tier lists. That could change, and if it does change, I'll reach out via Facebook and Instagram and let you know. But going forward, these expect these to happen Thursday around 4 or 5 o'clock. But classic Disney tier list. So if you are new, basically what we're doing here is chat is going to vote on where they think these movies fall. So you have the tier list up on the screen here. You have top tier. That's the best of the bunch. So how a movie scores up against everything else in its wheelhouse. So again, those are movies from 1937, starting with Snow White, all the way till 1970 with Aristocats. And I have these movies as well in chronological order, in the order they came out, because that was requested from chat last time to do it in order as they came out. So we got that going for you. And how you think that movie, how chat, everybody in chat now, thinks that movie scores up against the rest of them. Top tier being the best, then going down A, B, C, D, F. So as our example here, I will pull up the first movie here on the screen, Snow White. And then I'll ask chat, what do you think? And then chat will just rattle off with their comments. Top tier, A, B, whatever you think Snow White, wherever you think Snow White falls, you say it there in chat. And then based on the average answer from chat, that is where that movie is going to fall. So, like I said again, this week we're going with the classics. Next week is going to be the Renaissance period with a little bit of buffer. It's going to be movies from 1971 all the way till 2000. Check the description below, and it will say in order of how we're going to be doing this week by week. But of course, I cannot fail to mention these videos are brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. Let our travel agents help you plan the vacation of your dreams. Down in the description below, all that information. Really good dining package being offered right now for all people that vacations were affected by the shutdown. So check that out for your next trip, and let's dive right on into it. We already have the first movie poster up on the screen, and that is Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Chat, put your answers in now. Where do you think it falls? Top tier, A, B, C, D. Now, I think some of these movies we ranked in our last tier list, and I have a feeling that just because a movie might have not done so well in the first tier list, I don't think that will mean it's going to do. I think movies could do better or worse in this tier list than it did in the last one, just because they're being ranked up against things they're more similar to. It's kind of hard to put Snow White up to something like Toy Story because it's such a different era. But because these movies are all in the same general era, I think they're going to stack up a lot differently. And right as Chad is coming with their answers, I can see that's already the case. I think Snow White came in somewhere around the C tier last time. And now we're getting a lot of top tiers, a lot of A's, and many C's too. But there is quite a number of top tiers. And you know what? I would agree in this specific tier list where we're talking about these classic movies, Snow White was really a big deal for the Walt Disney Animation Studio. I mean, you got to look at the history of this, right? I mean, Disney might not even exist today if it wasn't for Snow White. It like that might have just been the straw that broke Walt's back if he didn't succeed with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So with all these A's and all these C's and all these B's coming in, also with top tier, it looks like the most said answer is A. So I believe that is where Snow White is going to fall today, in the A tier. And there she goes. So there we go. We just started off with Snow White, and we are going to move on to our second film, which is Pinocchio. Pinocchio is our next film, no doubt a classic. No doubt a classic. I believe Pinocchio did not fare so well in our last tier list when we compared all the generations, so I am curious to see how Pinocchio holds up now with just the classics. Scornforce says, I think Snow White is an important movie, but I feel there are others that are better movies. That's why I said A instead of top tier. I completely agree with you. That's basically what my reasoning would be. My reasoning would be too. All right, we have some votes coming in for Pinocchio. We have A's, we have C's, and we have B's. We have lots of C's. So many C's with even a D and more B's. But C is just the overwhelming majority right now. Yeah. A couple top tiers trickling in. Lauren's Travel saying this movie is creepy. Paul saying top for Pinocchio, but C is an overwhelming majority still. So, looking at the last tier list, I believe Pinocchio ended up in the D tier when it stacked up against all the generations, but Pinocchio is inching his way up into the C tier when held up to just the other classics. And there was a wide variety, a wide range of answers, but C was just the overwhelming majority, so that's where Pinocchio's got to go. All right, moving on along to divide this spread even further, we have Fantasia. This is Fantasia, the first one, not Fantasia 2000. I know a lot of people might have seen Fantasia 2000 and not the original Fantasia, but this is for the original Fantasia. Where do we think this falls? Personally, I've seen both, and I think Fantasia is awesome. But compared to some of these other classic movies, I don't know how well it holds up. But what ultimately matters is what you say, chat. So, the results are flowing in. Matt C. said, fun fact, Roy E. Disney was disappointed in Pinocchio. Did not know that. Did not know that. Do we have some more fun facts? I love fun facts. Chris Gervals says, Wizard of Oz stole a lot of visuals and tone from Snow White, but the story structure of Wizard of Oz had a huge impact on movies in general, including Disney. Lots of results for Fantasia coming in, and there are a ton of B's. a ton of C's, and even a couple tops. But right now, the most said answer is B. Right now, hands down, the most said answer for Fantasia is B. Well, it looks like it's going to be a B, guys. It is a resounding B. There's a variety of answers, but mostly B's. So we're going to go with B. Now, this next one. We got a good spread so far. We got 1A, 1B, 1C. I think our list is looking pretty good. Now we have an oddball here that I'm not sure a lot of you have seen. We have the Reluctant Dragon. Now, I've seen the Reluctant Dragon, but it's something that I saw when I was a kid, and I don't think I've ever watched into adulthood. It's definitely one of those classics that kind of fell by the wayside. But I'm curious to see, maybe there's a diehard fan base in chat right now for Reluctant Dragon that might push it. That might just push it higher than I might assume. So let's see it, chat. Where does Reluctant Dragon belong? "161 people watching in chat right now. Do me a favor. Hit that like button for us whenever you get the chance. Helps out the stream a ton. And I appreciate it a lot. If you haven't seen Reluctant Dragon, that's okay. There's going to be probably... When I made this list, there were a few movies that I did leave out that I figured that most people just probably did not see. But there are going to be a few movies on this list that I think a lot of people haven't seen, which is okay. A big part of the idea of doing Disney movies during this time is I figure a lot of us are watching a lot of Disney Plus and streaming services. So this might be a good idea to get people thinking, playing here with me and playing with the rest of chat, what movies you might want to watch during this downtime. You know, there might be some amazing classic movies you haven't seen before. That chat kind of gives you an idea. I should really see this. Is Reluctant Dragon that movie? Let's look. Haven't seen it, never heard of it. C. Never seen it. D. Unfortunately hasn't lasted the test of time. Brandon Yee says C. Jeanette says between C and D. Actually just saw it last night. Jay Cowley says D. So we got lots of D's coming in, and lots of never seen it's, and lots of C's. So it looks like we're looking at Reluctant Dragon getting a D. So that is where it's going to go. And our spread widens even farther, which I always like to see. I like at the beginning of a tier list for the spread to look something like this. It gives us a good baseline in which we're going to grade these movies going forward. So I'm really happy with what you've come up with so far, chat. And next up, we have another amazing classic. It did well on the previous tier list where we had all the films from Generations up for grading. It did well on that list. How well is Dumbo going to do when paired just against the other classics? Let's see it, chat. Let's see where you grade Dumbo. Amy Purdy says, which movies did you leave out? So on this classic tier list, I got almost all of the animated features. I left out all the live action features because in the 70s and 80s and to some aspect the 60s, Disney actually produced a ridiculous amount of live action movies to the point where it would triple, almost quadruple this list of movies we have right now. So because of that reason, the live action features will have to be done in a completely separate tier list. Whenever we get to that, we're going to definitely do this timeline, this three-part timeline first. But yeah, I had to leave all live actions out for that reason. So Dumbo scores are coming in with lots and lots of A's and quite a number of B's with some top tiers. Some absolute top tiers, many, many A's. some C's, and many B's. But definitely the number one response so far is A, with B's in top tiers on both sides. So it looks like to me Dumbo is getting an A spot. And this also makes a lot of sense too, because in the other list, Dumbo, I believe, was a B. Could be wrong, but I think it was a B. So for it to get moved up one rank when just paired up against classics is very fitting. Very fitting, I would say. All right, that was Dumbo. And now I'm really interested in where Bambi's going to fall. Because in the last list, Bambi got absolutely demolished in the D tier. Didn't hold up well against the new films. But when just paired against the classic films, is Bambi near the top of the list? Or do we still think that Bambi is near the bottom? Maybe it's in the middle. I think that I don't disagree with the last chat vote for Bambi to be in D tier. I would put it in its all genre list in the middle of the pack. But I feel like Bambi now, with just being ranked up against classics, is definitely somewhere around the B as these results flow in. Lots of C's though. But there's some A's and some D's, and we have some top tiers too. Middle of the pack, John says. Lots of C's. Definitely A or top tier. So there are a lot of A's and a lot of C's and a good amount of B's. Definitely the most said answer is C, but we also have so many A's and B's. Bambi, I think, would end up in the B. And more B's even coming in now. So I think the correct response here, coming from chat, is a B for Bambi. Jeffrey says Bambi is the Lion King of the classics. I can see that. I can see that. Although Lion King, we decided in the full list that it was the toppest of the top tier movie. We're not exactly deciding that for Bambi right now, but B, I'm definitely happy with B for Bambi, and I'm also definitely happy that Bambi got some more love this time around. Another movie that many people might have not seen, but is available on Disney Plus right now, is The Three Caballeros. A lot of us have ridden the ride on Epcot. We love the ride on Epcot, or maybe you don't. I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself. But maybe you haven't seen the movie. I actually watched this movie for the first time probably about a year ago. Unless I saw it as a kid and don't remember. But I'm pretty sure I watched this movie for the first time sometime around a year ago. And I liked it a lot. It's a little all over the place. Definitely not a top tier movie for me. Definitely a feel-good movie. As somebody who really appreciates and loves the attraction, I appreciated the movie quite a bit. But, you know, the story it's a lot more like the old style of short animations, one after another, after another, after another, after another, to make a full feature. But what do you think? For those of you who have seen it, lots of C's for Three Caballeros, a number of never seen it's, some B's, some D's, some F's, some people saying F, it's painful to watch. People saying C, love me some Donald Duck. Some B's, some more F's. Nick says F, it can't hold water compared to the rest of these films. So we have some love for Three Caballeros in the chat. We have B's and A's in the chat. Not many though. The vast majority of the vote is D's and C's, with even some F's coming in. So it really does look like Three Caballeros is going to be a D tier movie. Right down there with The Reluctant Dragon. So, the birds of a feather are going to stick together. It's just going to be in the D tier. But now things are going to get really interesting because I have another movie for you guys that I think some of you haven't seen Three Caballeros, some of you haven't seen Reluctant Dragon. But I guarantee you there's going to be even more of you that have not seen Melody Time. Now, in this list that I've created, there is one movie that I've personally never seen, and that is Melody Time. I've never seen this movie. If I have seen this movie, it was when I was a kid, and it was when I was such a young kid that I have literally no memory of it whatsoever, because when I was going through Walt Disney Animation Timeline, looking at these movies, doing research on these movies, making sure my timeline was correct, I looked into this movie and I definitely have not seen it. But chat, have you seen Melody Time? And for those of you that did, where does it belong? Tink says, if y'all don't vote Aristocats as top tier. Right, I agree with you. I think Aristocats is amazing. And that's the last on the list because that is the newest movie in this classic list. Miss Julian says this is a movie. Yeah, it is. And it's apparently not one that if you haven't seen, you are missing out on because chat is just loading it up with D's and F's. D's, F's, D, F, C. I think this is going to be our first F of the bunch compared to the others. So there goes Melody Time in the bottom of our list. So there we go. Another one coming up. Another classic. That is a beloved IP amongst the die-hard Disneyland fan. That is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. This is another movie that I have definitely seen as a kid. And then I watched it like for the first time again in adulthood about a year or so ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I actually own the DVD of this movie. This, I think, is maybe the most vintage DVD I own. Because I don't own original Snow White, Dumbo. I don't own Three Caballeros. I might own Pinocchio, actually. I actually think I own Pinocchio. So second most vintage. But what do we think? Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Here we go. This is A, top tier, C, C, top tier, B, A, B, C, B. Amy Purdy, is this movie on Disney Plus? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Mr. Toad is on Disney Plus. I want to say it is. It should be. I don't know for sure, but if I had to bet money, I'd say yes. If I had $5 on it, I'd say yes. More B's, more A's, more C's. I think it looks like an A. This is an A, almost top tier. Just barely not making it into the top tier list. Ichabod and Mr. Toad goes into the A category. So chat, this is exactly what I wanted to show you. For those of you that have not seen Ichabod and Mr. Toad, take chat's word for it. This is a movie to check out. We have some people saying, yes, it is on Disney+. Jason saying it is on Disney+. So there it is. Discovering Disney. Yes, it is on Disney+. Okay, there you go. So chat, if you have not seen Mr. Toad, Chat's obviously rating it very, very high. Uh, check it out. Some people saying definitely not an A, and some people don't agree with it, but the vast majority of chat said A or top tier. So that is where it ended up. But I am wondering, our next movie here, Cinderella. This almost made its way into the top tier for our overall list and just barely got pushed out of the top tier during our revision. So I feel like there's no other way to put this. I think Cinderella needs to be a top tier movie in the classics list, right? I feel like it's gotta. But maybe chat feels differently today. Chat put this just barely missing top tier on our last list. So Cinderella. Can Cinderella find her slipper before midnight and find her way into the top tier? Oh, absolutely she can. Absolutely she can. Chat just coming in, boom. So many top tiers, just boom, 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 boom. So strong. There is no way. Even if every other person said F right now, that is so many top tiers. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. Okay. Cinderella, the one and only top tier film right now. And I can't say I disagree. I think it is very fitting for a movie like Cinderella to end up as our first top tier movie. This is fitting. This is very fitting. Um, Now, a personal favorite of mine. This is my favorite classic Disney movie. Alice in Wonderland is my favorite classic Disney movie from this era. With that being said, it didn't do so well on our last list. Paired up against All Generations, it fell, I believe, in the C tier. Very, very disappointing, but I went with it anyways because it was what chat wanted. But Alice in Wonderland, guys, can it have a golden afternoon and pull itself out of the C tier and in to one of the top tier rankings? I appreciate you guys coming in with some of those top tiers right in the front. With A's, with B's, with more top tiers. Lots of B's, though. Lots of B's and lots of top tiers. Some people giving it a C. Come on. Alice can't get a C in being stacked up against just classics. It got a C. Christian Von Below says, why don't you post straw polls instead of glancing at chat? Because if I did straw polls for every single film, which I could do, and we could definitely get an accurate score, it would take so long in between each film, and then also people would have to, like, if they're only using one browser, they're going to have to exit, come back in, exit, come back in. It's asking a lot. It's asking a lot more for people to just type their answer. But Alice is doing great. Mostly A votes. So I think, from the looks of this, Alice is definitely going to have herself a golden afternoon up in the A tier, where she belongs with the likes of Dumbo, Ichabod, and Snow White. Very fitting. In chat, I appreciate you for the good ranking of my favorite. Tony says the colors, the music, the story, Alice is an A. Jenna says it's visually stunning but too weird for me. And yeah, it is a little strange. It's one of those first animations of the idea of like going down the rabbit hole into your imagination and just things not being what they are, and just being out of reality. But that's part of its charm to me. That's part of its charm to me. Next up, Peter Pan. This was my childhood favorite. We did not have this on our last list, where we had movies from all generations. Wasn't even there. Um, so we have nothing to compare it to as far as how it did with everything. But as a classic, I think Peter Pan is a contender for top tier. Christy Richardson says Alice is weird. Have you read the book? I do have the book. I actually have the old hardcover, like vintage library version of Alice in Wonderland on my entertainment center. And that's a cool fact too. Is that not only is the story of Alice in Wonderland like 100 years older than the movie, but that was some of the first animation Walt worked with even before Mickey Mouse. Was he did the Alice comedy series. And yeah, Peter Pan slammed in the face with top tiers and A's, almost nothing else but top tiers and A's. A few odd C's and B's here and there, but it is top tier without a doubt. You really can't argue with that much love from chat. So top tier is where Peter Pan's going to be and where he's going to stay. I saw some comments saying Ichabod and Mr. Toad needs to go down a rank. Now, I am not going to stop chat from saying that. When going through these tier lists, often as the ranking structure starts to fill out, we decide things need to get moved up and moved down. So, with a couple of comments I saw come through, I think it's fair to say we're going to bring Ichabod and Mr. Toad up for discussion again. So, chat. I saw enough people mention it that this is now back up for discussion. Ichabod and Mr. Toad is right now an A movie. So what I need chat to say is, does it stay in A or does it go to B? Does it stay or does it go down? Christy Richardson says, gotta go top tier with Tinkerbell. We'll be angry. Don't want to get Tink red in the face. Yeah, and looking like I rewatch Peter Pan all the time, and I just have come to the conclusion that in that original animated featured, Tink is a villain. Tink is a side villain to Cap. Like, she's just a side villain. Like, she's not like a heroine. She's not a hero. She tries to off Wendy. Like, Tink is totally a side villain. All right, let's take a look. Move it down. Ichabod is an A. Down to B. Move it down. Move it down. Move to B. B, B, B. Stay A. B, A. It is definitely, and I'm sorry for you guys who say stay on A, I would probably have to agree it would stay on an A. But chat is saying, much more often than not, move it down. And chat has spoken. Ichabod is now a B tier movie. And if I see enough noise in chat, we might bring this up for rediscussion again as the list fills out. Who knows? It's not all hope is lost for Ichabod to be in the higher tiers. But we must move on. The show must go on. And the show is going on with these lovable dogs. The Lady and the Tramp. The Lady and the Tramp. I love this movie. My wife Haley has an extreme affinity for Lady and the Tramp. That classic scene with at Tony's where they're eating the spaghetti and they kiss. I actually own one very expensive piece of art, the Thomas Kincaid paintings. I have the massive Lady and the Tramp one, like the largest size Lady and the Tramp one that you can get. Not only because of Haley's love for the movie, but also because, if you didn't know, the Thomas Kincaid Lady and the Tramp has the most uh, hidden candies and Easter eggs than any other painting that he's done. There's like, just to give you some more information on it, you can find like Lumiere in the window of Tony's, and Figaro in the trash barrel behind it, and Nana from Peter Pan in the dog pound vehicle, and much more. It's an amazing painting. But we're not talking about my painting, we're talking about the movie. And our votes are coming in strong with lots of A's, a few top tiers, many B's. But right now, the number one answer is A. Happily Ever Tatum says A, but not top tier. Tony says Lady and the Tramp B. A is definitely the number one answer right now. And that is where I think it's going to have to go. Boom. I think this list right now is looking honestly pretty fantastic. Honestly, pretty fantastic. We have our top tier contenders with Cinderella and Peter Pan, makes perfect sense right there. We have our A-listers in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, and Lady and the Tramp. I couldn't agree more with all of those selections being there. We have our B-tier films, which I'd say this rose a little bit more up for discussion in my preferences, and were a lot more disputed in chat as well, with Fantasia, Bambi, and Ichabod and Mr. Toad falling just short of the toppest of the tiers. We have our C tier being Pinocchio, with our D and Fs being The Reluctant Dragon, Three Caballeros, and finally our lowest tier in the F tier we have Melody Time, mostly because nobody's seen it. And we move on. And we move on to another classic film that didn't do so well in our list that encompassed all the generations. Sleeping Beauty. I feel like it could do a lot better now, though. Just stacked up against the rest of the classics where it belongs. Where does Sleeping Beauty belong? Where does the Sleeping Princess belong? Where does Maleficent belong? We have the votes coming in. Right now we have multiple Bs and multiple top tiers. Doug Stevenson says top tier, perfection. Shauna says my absolute favorite, at least an A. Tink says F for Sleeping Beauty. C tier, C, lots of A's. Nick says top, she's got her own castle too. Mark says C, for a classic, it has never done well. Super memorable, villain and side characters, a great art style and wonderful story, top tier in my opinion. That is a large number of top tiers, but this is definitely a very mixed bag of votes. We have people saying top tier, we have people saying A, B, C, and even F. So, the majority of the vote is pushing towards A, because there is more positivity towards it than there is low tier votes. So right now, I'm going to place Sleeping Beauty in A, with the premise that, chat, you could move this up and down if you so decide as we move forward. The A tier is looking heavy. I think my opinion right now is our A tier is looking very heavy. Something might need to fall off, but it's ultimately up to you guys as we move on to our next film. And our next film is 101 Dalmatians, not to be confused with its remakes. This is the original animated feature. This is the original animated 101 Dalmatians. I love this movie. Not my favorite in comparison to the other dog movie, Lady and the Tramp. I would definitely put Lady and the Tramp above 101 Dalmatians. But where does this puppy dog movie stack up for you guys on this list? And here come the ratings. We have some top tiers. We have lots and lots of Bs. We have As. We have Bs. We have Cs. We have so many Bs. But we have so many Bs and we have a number of top tiers too. And some As. Wow. That's a lot of Bs, a lot of As, and a lot of top tiers. So the average of that is an A. So the average of that is an A. Some people are giving it lower ratings now. There's C's starting to come through. There's C's starting to come through, and there's some F's. This one's extremely divided, guys. I think I'm going to have to put it in B for now. Well, you know, the most said answer is still A. So I'm going to put it in A. Our A tier is extremely heavy. I'll let chat throw me some comments saying if anything on that A tier should get moved up or moved down. But A is the most said answer. So the A's are going to take it. Take it. 101 Dalmatians, it's going in the A tier. So we have some comments coming in. We have Snow White needs to move up. We have Sleeping Beauty's got to go down. We have Move Dalmatians down. Snow White needs to move up. Snow White needs to move up. Okay. That is the most said thing. So we are going to bring back our original film. And I think that's very fitting. I think it's a little unfair that Snow White went first and isn't going to be reevaluated because, you know, now that our list is starting to flesh itself out, we should bring her back into the discussion. At the beginning of this tier list, we put Snow White in the A tier. Now that our list is more spread, let's bring it back up for discussion. Does Snow White stay in the A tier or move up to the top tier? Or move down to the B tier? Excuse me. All right. Snow White up. Snow White up. Snow White up. Snow White stay. Up. Up. There's lots of ups. Okay. So we have, and we have another evaluation. We have another evaluation after this, but you guys have definitely just pushed Snow White up. So there we go. Snow White is up into the top tier, and I think it's fitting because Snow White did define the animation studio and allow it to go forward. If Snow White didn't succeed, the camel's back very well could have broken. So I think it's very fair to consider it a top tier classic, but you guys want to reevaluate Sleeping Beauty. I've got a number of comments saying to move it down. So we're going to do one more reevaluation with Sleeping Beauty and then move on to our next film. So Sleeping Beauty, we have placed it in the A tier. amongst Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, Lady and the Tramp, and 101 Dalmatians? Should Sleeping Beauty stay in the A tier amongst those movies or move down to the B tier with Bambi, Ichabod, and Fantasia? One more reevaluation and then we will move on. Votes are starting to come in. All right, votes are starting to come in. Move it down, go down, stay. Stay, 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 stay. Down, down. Move it up, down. Leave it, down. Move it up, move down, stay, stay. Okay. We reevaluated Sleeping Beauty, and we had a giant mix of up, down, and stay. But the most said answer, guys, is Sleeping Beauty stays in the A. So that is going to lock Sleeping Beauty in. Sleeping Beauty's locked in at the A. And we move on to our next movie, Sword in the Stone. No doubt a classic. Sword in the Stone is no doubt a classic. Every kid dreams of walking in and pulling that sword from the stone and being that lucky one that, was chosen to remove the sword. And as far as the movie's concerned, it has some very lovable characters. Merlin is awesome. Even the side characters are pretty cool. I remember loving this movie as a kid. It's been a long time since I rewatched it. So it's not one of those movies like Peter Pan or Alice that I rewatch year after year after year after year. But I do look back at it fondly. What do you guys think? So here comes our votes. We have A's, C's, top tier, D, huge spread. This is going to be a difficult one to decide. A, C, C, top. B, B, C.
Which sport, basketball or football?
Siri thought I was talking to her. That's a lot of B's. Jacob Smith, it's an A, not quite top tier. Belongs in B, so does Pinocchio. So right now, the average answer is a B. So chat, that is where you have placed Sword in the Stone. For now, at least, in the B tier. And I will pull up our next film. The Jungle Book. I think The Jungle Book on I Want to Be Like You Alone deserves some serious points. That is a jam that holds up so well. It was a jam back when this movie came out, and I wasn't even born yet, and I know it was a jam. And it's still a jam today in 2020, to the point where it's being played at nighttime shows, and you got the whole park dancing to it. But a single song is not going to top tier a movie. I need to know from you, chat, where does Jungle Book sit? We also have some static on Pinocchio. So after Jungle Book, we will revisit Pinocchio for you guys, because I've seen at least 4 people say Pinocchio doesn't belong in the C tier, so we can definitely reevaluate Pinocchio. All right, Jungle Book, top tier, A or top tier, A, top tier, D, top tier, A, B, C, B, top tier, top tier, top tier, top tier, top tier, a top tier. Okay, that's enough top tiers to make it a top tier. I once I see like 20 top tiers, I mean, I don't think there's very much point in continuing on, because that's enough top tiers to cement it in my opinion. All right, now we wanted to reevaluate Pinocchio. So let's do that. Pinocchio. I saw at least 4 people say Pinocchio does not belong in that C tier. So, what I want from you, chat, right now Pinocchio is in the C tier. I want you to say either Pinocchio stays, it goes up, or it goes down. Pinocchio stays, it goes up, or it goes down. All right. Pinocchio B, Toad to C. Pinocchio B, Toad to C. I have 2 people saying switch Pinocchio and Toad. Move up Pinocchio, move up Pinocchio. Pinocchio B, Pinocchio stay. Switch it with Stone. I agree. Something has to be in the C spot. We can't have an empty spot. Okay, so all right, that is enough answers for me to decide to move Pinocchio up. But we have people saying to swap it with something in the B tier. So here's my next question for you, chat. I'll put a little dash in the chat right here. So I'm gonna type a dash in the chat, and I want you to tell me what to bump down for Pinocchio. So we're going to bump something from the B tier to the C tier in Pinocchio's spot because there's more people asking for that than not. So I need you to tell me what is getting replaced. So we can vote for Fantasia, Bambi, Mr. Toad, or Sword in the Stone to take spots with Pinocchio. Pinocchio is getting moved up. There's just way more people saying to move Pinocchio up than not, and we're going to swap something. We got 2 for Toad. 3 for Toad, Fantasia. 4 for Toad. 5 for Toad. 1 for Stone. 6 for Toad. 2 for Fantasia. 7 for Toad. 3 for Sword. Okay, we have at this point, we have over 20 for Toad, so that's what's going to happen. Pinocchio is going to steal the spot from Mr. Toad and itch its way into the B tier. Now, the mighty have fallen. Because, guys, when we started this list and Mr. Toad first went up, we had it in the A tier, if you guys remember. But since the list has started to flesh itself out, movies just keep bumping Mr. Toad down. They just keep getting bumped down. And now we are on to our final movie, The Aristocats. And chat, what say you? Does everybody want to be a cat? Everybody wants to be a cat. Where does it go? Where does it go? And guys, if you are just joining, and this is your first tier list, just so you know, and for the most part, I agree with this list, but this is not my personal opinion on where these movies fall. We are going with the average of what chat votes for. And so far as the votes come in for Aristocats, we'll take a look at our list and see where chat has placed the movies thus far. We have our top tier contenders with Cinderella, Peter Pan, Snow White, and Jungle Book. Our A-listers being Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty, and 101 Dalmatians. Our B tiers, just barely not making that top list, is Fantasia, Bambi, Pinocchio, Sword in the Stone. Our C-lister is Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Our D-listers, Reluctant Dragon and 3 Caballeros. And our F, Melody Time, because nobody's really seen it. And let's see where you guys put Aristocats. We have C, top tier. A, top tier like hello, says Haley Raven. C, B, C, top tier. Everyone wants to be a cat. B, A, top. B, D, B, C. Very divided. More C's coming in, more A's coming in. Wow. Okay. So this is a very, very, very divided movie. The most said answers are A's, B's, and C's. But there are many top tiers too. It looks like there's at least 8 or 9 top tiers. So because of all those top tiers and a heavy average of A's, even though the most said answer is mostly B's, I think that's enough top tiers to make it inch its way more into the A's than the B. So Aristocats is going to be in the A. Let me go through these top tiers one more time and make sure I didn't undercount them. All right. Aristocats. 1 top tier, 2 top tier, 3 top tier, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 10 top tiers is a lot, and that's why I'm going to have it squeak its way past the mix of votes, the large mix of votes that we do have, into the A tier. Now, this is our list as it stands right now, everybody. I'm going to open it up one more time for evaluation before we close it out. So if there's any movies you guys think need to be reevaluated, let me know in the comments here. I'll ask in chat too. Anything need a revote? I'll take the most said movie. So we're not going to revote everything. Like if there's one person in chat that like thinks every movie needs revoted, we're just going to take whatever the most said revote is, and we will revote that movie. But yeah, so this is our tier list as it stands right now. We're going to do one more revote. Our top tier contenders up there. Aristocats making it into the A-lister. The A-list is very heavy. We have given a lot of love to these classic movies because the B, A, and top tier lists are the most heavy lists, with the C, D, and F being almost. There's just a few movies in those lists. Let's see what people are saying. Matt Scott says Robin Hood. Robin Hood was made in 1971. This list is all the way to 1970, so Robin Hood is going to make his way in the next tier list. We have a Dumbo down, a Cats down, a Sleeping Beauty down, Sleeping Beauty, Dumbo. Okay, the most said thing right now is Dumbo. So that is what we're going to reevaluate. Dumbo up. Dumbo is currently a A-tier movie. Chat, you tell me, does Dumbo stay, go up, or go down? It's currently an A-lister. Does it go down to B? Does it stay at A? Or does it go up to top tier? So while those votes come in of where Dumbo is going to fall, here is some info for those of you that might have joined late. We did a few tier lists last week. We did one tier list that was movies from all generations, and now we're going to do a weekly series, starting with the classics. This tier list that we made right now is movies from 1937 all the way till 1970, just the animated features. We left a few out. I left a few out that are very obscure, not very well known films that not many people have seen. And I also left out live actions because there's just too many of them to include. So we're just going to be doing animated films. Next week, the tier list will be movies from 1971 all the way to the year 2000. And then the following week, we're going to do movies from the year 2001 to current day. And then we'll have 3 tier lists that encompass all of the animation studio's lifetime, with the movies ranked up against just other movies from around that era. And that will be next week and the following week. And then we'll come up with something else. But here we go. Dumbo votes. Stay, stay, stay. Move it down, move it down. Move it up, move it down, stay. Stay, move it up, move it down, move it down, move it down. Stay, stay. Move it down, move it down, move it down, move it down, move it down. Move it down. Okay. Most of you, out of those 3 answers, most of you have said move it down. So, Dumbo has to be moved down. And this, as it stands right now, is our classic Disney animated film tier list. Our top tier ended up being Cinderella, Peter Pan, Snow White, and The Jungle Book. Our A-listers ended up being Alice in Wonderland, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, and Aristocats. Our B-listers ended up being Fantasia, Bambi, Pinocchio, Sword in the Stone, and Dumbo. Our C tier ended up being a Lonely Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Our D-listers ended up being Reluctant Dragon, 3 Caballeros, and our F tier ended up being Melody Time. And that is our list, guys. So, again, I made this tier list myself with all the images and stuff. These take a little bit to put together, but you're going to be able to access the list now if you want to make your own order. If you disagree, and there's literally, okay, so it is literally going to be impossible to come up with a consensus where all 200 people watching will agree where everything goes. But I think we came up to a pretty general good consensus. But that doesn't mean you can't make your own version of this list, share it with us on Facebook, and show us where you think movies should have fallen. Maybe you think there are people in chat who say Ichabod and Mr. Toad is A-list. You know, there's people who think Jungle Book is not a top tier. You can make this list as well and share it with us, and we'd love to see your results. But we're going to be doing this again. Like I mentioned, next week we're going to be doing all the movies from 1971 to 2000, which should be probably the most exciting list we'll do here with these movies. I think it will be, because it includes not only some of the hidden gems from the 70s and 80s like Robin Hood and the Rescuers, but it's going to include like the beloved golden gems of Disney animation with Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Aladdin. I mean, I'm a 90s kid, so I'm biased that those are some of the best, but we're gonna have an awesome tier list with movies like that pairing up with things like Hercules. I mean, Hercules will be on that list too, and yeah, that should be a really, really exciting list to make. But this is our finalized classic Disney animated film tier list for that time frame. We're going to be doing more of these going forward. Again, if you disagree with any of these, that's totally fine. You should make one of these tier lists and share it with us. Show us what you came up with. But chat, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for playing along and making what I consider to be a pretty beautiful tier list out with us. And that is going to do it. We have some questions about, like, Oliver and Company. That'll be in the next one. Goofy movie. I forget what year that came out, but Goofy movie will be on whatever list generation it falls into, whether that's the next one or the one after that. And yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Have fun watching Disney Plus. Let us know down in the comments down below in the actual comment section once this live ends if you ended up watching any of these movies for the first time on Disney Plus because of this tier list. And catch you in the next one. See ya.